All right. Welcome. Today we have Irina on from Root, and she's going to talk to us about their new robot that's launching in the fall. And you'll be at ISTE too, is correct?
Yes.
Talking about this, so hopefully you'll get a chance to see it then. But yeah, just kind of wanted to ask, what was the kind of background of the history of how it went, how it got going, and then what are kind of your big reasons for your company to be in this ed space and helping kids code?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Irina. I'm the learning design lead at Root. And I'll give you a little bit of a background with how Root came to be, and I'll tell you a little bit about what it became, what it is right now. So originally the company was a project at the Wyss Institute at Harvard, which is a robotics lab. And at first, there is a professor there, Radhika Nakpal. She started a project where she wanted a robot that could erase a whiteboard. So her group designed this robot to erase a whiteboard, and then it kind of they started to ask questions about what else could this little robot do besides erasing whiteboards. So they started to add some features like drawing on a whiteboard and then erasing the whiteboard. And it kind of sparked an idea, especially because the robot was operating on a magnetic whiteboard. It became kind of a pathway as a learning tool into a classroom. So it grew into this idea of being a little robot that kids could program. And amongst its features, you can make it draw and you can make it erase on a whiteboard, and it's very accessible and easy to teach with because of the fact that you can demo it on whiteboards.
That's great.
Yeah, and now what it grew into, so there's an app which is a 3-level interface, and it starts with a really simple block language, and it's all visual, so even non-readers can use level 1, and then there's level 2. So the idea is it progresses as students grow and learn more skills. So level 2 has kind of a more advanced block language with more precision capabilities. So in level 1, for example, you can make root turn in increments of 15 degrees. In level 2, kids can input exact angle measures, and they can be anything they want because the editors are now not only visual, but there's also text editors where they can edit it more precisely. And then level 3 is kind of a stepping stone to text languages. So they're blocks that you drag out, but then they convert to text code. Okay. So, and it can be JavaScript.
Java?
Sorry,
is that in Java?
JavaScript, Python, or Swift. Nice. And you can decide which setting you want it on. And then there's you can even go further to level 4, where you export the code into another development environment and continue to code and make Root do really complex things. So the idea is really small kids can be working with Root and coding Root to do, simple tasks. And then really advanced kids can be coding Root and making Root do really, really complex things. So there's a huge breadth and a lot of opportunities to really allow kids to jump in and learn to code at any level.
Yeah, I've played around with a little bit. Got Root here, and this is Root if you haven't seen it, and it's up here on the whiteboard. And it's great because you make a mistake as a kid or as myself, and all of a sudden the robot's just going across the whiteboard, and oh no, it's going to fall off, and then it goes and it senses the edge and it turns off. And so, what other kind of safety things, or have you all built in as you've been doing these?
Yeah, so that what you're describing is a cliff sensor. So Root knows when there's an edge, and it typically it doesn't fall. we've drop tested routes, so it's pretty safe to drop route from like pretty high distances.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really sturdy.
Yeah. And what are the sensors that you have on this little guy anyway?
Yeah, so there's over 50 sensors and actuators, which is quite a bit. So I'll give you kind of a overview.
Okay.
There's touch sensors on top. There's bump sensors.
Yep.
And also with the touch sensors, you can program route to respond differently to like all the different zones.
Okay.
And the same with the bump sensors and with the two front bumpers. There's light sensors which respond to changes in light, and those are through root's eyes.
Yep.
There's
sound through the top.
Yeah, those are light sensors that respond. So if you close one eye, it's going to be dark, and you can make root turn to the side where you close the eye, or you could do all sorts of creative things. There's also a sound sensor, which you can code root to respond to changes in sound, like volume, whether it's loud or soft. There's color sensors on the bottom with 5 different zones. So root can read different colors in 5 different zones on the bottom as it moves. And there's actuators to drop a marker, and then there's an eraser on the bottom. There's actuators to drop the eraser.
Right. And you've got your own root dry erase, but does it work with regular Expo or anything too?
Yeah, you can put any dry erase marker into it. You can put any pen into root to make root draw on paper as well if you want to.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. So yeah, so you can put it in there and then it'll actuate and drop down. Well, is it a line follower too?
So the line follower is if you can draw a line, and then you would use the color sense to sense the color of the line, and it'll follow the line if you code it to follow the line.
Okay. Is there any I know there's a lot of kind of Twitter plotter things out there where they're doing, vector drawing, and I know this can do a lot of different drawing coded in there. Are there ways to import shapes in and have it follow a vector line or recreate that?
So I think this is more advanced probably in level 4, which I was describing to you, when they can export code into a different environment or code root from a different environment. So I imagine that that's possible. I haven't worked with that yet or tested.
I'm always thinking fringe edge cases, so.
Yeah, but I think the idea is that you'll be able to do pretty much anything.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And so it comes with a little book that I haven't unfolded, and a bunch of stickers. So are these just for fun? Or
so there should be a whiteboard grid in there.
Yep.
So so the whiteboard grid is like another option for what students can be working on.
Okay.
So there's one side that's totally blank, and then there's another side with a space theme for fun. And the idea is, like, if students want to navigate route on the grid, each block is 16 centimeters, and that's the default for the move block in level 1.
Okay.
And then kids can change distances and do measurements based off of that. And then the stickers or the vinyl clings that are in there stick to whiteboards or stick to that grid. And a lot of them are in the colors that can be color sensed. Yeah. So they're just another fun accessory that you can do activities with.
Yeah. And what grades have you been testing with? Or are you feeling that this is, obviously it can go from young to old? What are kind of your recommendations to start?
Sure. So far, the workshops we've been running have been geared at level 1 and testing like all the level 1 functionality as well as the content that we're designing for level 1. And I've had kids come in everywhere between 5 and 13 to test level 1. So we say that for fours, you can start as early as 4 with level 1. Of course, if you're using the content, kids would need guidance with it, whereas older kids starting from 7 or 8 can work more independently. And then level 1 can go, I think if kids are doing activities and working through them and starting from the very beginning, up to maybe age 13. And I think even older kids can start in level 1, but transition to level 2 and 3 quicker.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've seen your curriculum, and I've designed curriculum myself, so I love it. By the way, I love how it's all color coded in the different things. You guys did a really good job on just making it simple and easy to access. And I think that's, I won't talk too much shop on curriculum, but it's hard to do that because you want to stuff so much information in, but you guys made it nice and icon friendly. And is that just level 1, or kind of tell me about the curriculum that goes with this?
Yeah, so far our goal is we're not designing full curriculums. We're designing foundational materials that any educator can take and adapt as they need to adapt to fit their courses. So that's kind of why you found there's a lot of, it's just learn sequences and build challenges. So there's a lot of activities there that are good starting points, I think, and you can build a lot around that. I guess, sorry, repeat your question about it.
Just the curriculum. Is there,
you asked about the levels.
Yeah, about the different levels, and they're color coded and have all these different sequences. Is it just level 1, or is it kind of foundational for each level?
So right now we just are completing level 1, but we do have a plan to create materials, similar materials for the other levels as well. And then about the how they're color coded, they're actually they're actually by theme. And so there's groups of content that are surrounding skills, and if you look at it, there's divider cards which separate each group by skills. And so each skill or skill set has a different theme.
Okay, great.
And also all of this material is going to be translated to an app experience.
Okay.
So there's going to be an option in the app where kids can go through this experience in the app, or educators can turn that off so that they can guide the experience more, and they can use the cards and then have the kids just work in the app like with a blank slate, just like programs that they're building on. Right.
And now I've got just let's talk technical aspect a little bit more now, because I'm thinking in the classroom, how many of these, first of all, do you suggest having in groups, or what's that thing? And then secondly, you've got a whole bunch on this whiteboard. How do you pair them, and the Bluetooth enablement? Or is it always linked to one iPad each per route, or can you kind of change that?
Sure. So as far as grouping goes, I'm working with a couple pilot schools and pilot camps, and I've seen everything from like 1 student per robot to having groups of 4 per robot. It really depends how you organize the activities and how much time you would want students to have with the robot. So my recommendation is like 2 or 3 kids per robot. And then as far as how to facilitate like students getting connected, it's 1 iPad per robot. Okay. So they have to connect individually to their robots.
So yeah, like you would other robot pairing, and put a color sticker on it, write a number, and that's your iPad and your
yeah, we're actually adding a feature where you can name the robots.
Oh, nice.
So educators will be able to name the robot and have students connect to specific robots.
Everybody loves to name a robot, so
yeah.
that's great. So also with that in mind, you run out of whiteboard space. You only have so much, and you have these groups of 2 to 4, maybe 3 students in your classroom of 20, and you've got all these different routes going around. What are the it doesn't have to be magnetic. It can be flat on a flat surface, draw on paper. Describe some of the alternate than just wall climbing capabilities.
Okay, sure. So you needed the surface to be magnetic for it to stick.
Okay.
So as far as vertical climbing, it has to be a magnetic whiteboard, unless you want root to like go on like a refrigerator or something. So if you can get really creative, but in a classroom setting, it would be a magnetic whiteboard. But also I've had kids in my workshops working on the ground, working on tabletops, working at the board. So there's a lot of different opportunities and different ways in which kids can code root and interact with root. And also there's a lot of room for autonomy, which I find to be really motivating to students.
Yeah, yeah. And other than the, obviously magnetic climbing walls and the fabulous interface that you guys have developed, other than that, what are some things you feel like really set Root apart from, other robot platforms that are out there?
So I don't know. I'm not sure if you just mentioned this, but definitely like the 3 levels. Mm-hmm. Being able to go from one level to the next, we found that to be, it's just kids can continue to work with the same tool. And so there's just a lot of opportunity for students to grow with Root. Something else that I've observed is that students, the projects they make with Root, they really connect to them in a very personal level, and that's because Root is so they create the personality for Root. So they code Root to do whatever they want, but also they can design environments for which Root can navigate in their own way. So like with the grid, they can draw whatever they want on the grid. They can decorate it with stickers however they want. They can build a Root and a world and a context for Root that their imagination allows. Root doesn't have like a specific personality like some other coding robots have. And so I found that to be really engaging to kids. When an example I can give you is I had given kids an activity to make Root dance. And there was such an array. Like one kid really liked Michael Jackson, and he made Root do the moonwalk, and that was really special to him. Yeah. But you could also make Root do a waltz or like, I mean, it's so unbelievable, like the kinds of things kids think of. And so there really is a lot of room for them to design and use their imagination and use their creativity when they're coding with Root. I think it's really like the breadth of things that they can do and how personal they can make it and how they can connect.
Yeah, great. Yeah, no, and I'm doing like a robot petting zoo kind of thing with different robots, and I thought, wow, that's so fun because you can dress it up, but it has all these sensors, and you can do so many things, and you can just color on the whiteboard and have it, instead of having to create a whole crafty 3-dimensional world, you almost have like a topo map, that you can look down on it, Root's navigating. It's a little Zelda-ish, kind of rotating through, and it's kind of fun just to be able to make them navigate there.
Also, you can draw on Root as well.
Okay. Oh, it's whiteboard.
It's like a whiteboard top, so you can draw on Root. You can stick things to Root.
That's great.
We're working on a Lego tray you can attach to Root and attach building blocks. So there's a lot of fun things kids can do in design.
Great. And so where you'll be at ISTE, ISTE. And then tell me about the kind of launch date and window, and what's, what would be the process if people want to jump in and you know, get a look at them firsthand, or you know, purchase some for their classrooms? What's kind of that process?
Yeah, so we'll be at ISTE at the end of June, and we're doing a couple workshops there, and we'll be demoing there in our booth. We're launching, so we're launching really in early fall.
Okay.
So roots will be available. They're already available for pre-sale on our website, www.codewithroot.com.
Great.
And then you can follow us on like all the social at Code with Root. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Well, I know, and ISTE's coming up soon. It's like it'll be here while people are watching the video. They'll be at ISTE probably. They'll be like, oh wait.
Yeah.
A date.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. So yeah, we do have a few workshops that should be really great. There's one about coding for interactivity, which will focus on the sensors. We have a workshop about coding to create patterns, coding to create shapes, and it should be
packed everything from all the different robotics kind of platforms into one that can climb a refrigerator. It's really cool. So I'm really
exactly.
excited. Yeah, it's great. Do you say 50 sensors?
It has 50 sensors and actuators.
Wow, yeah. That's nuts. And it does not even that heavy. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna have this as part of the Robot Petting Zoo one, so we'll have other robots in there. Because you know, once again, we want people to be able to jump into coding, and I love block coding, but it's always just been stuck. Like you can't get past block coding, and so if you can continue down the journey, like you guys, into Swift and into Python and into JavaScript, I mean that's amazing. So it's a great platform. So thanks for showing us it, and tell your team.
Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited for it, and we'll shoot you questions if people have any. All right.
Cool. Yeah, that works.
Well, hopefully your issues at work, technical issues, go away here soon too. And
no, it was fine. It wasn't that big of a deal. I have a few questions for you. Are we done?
Yep, I'm all